Hi, my name's Brooke and I'm a children's speech and language therapist from Bolton NHS Foundation Trust. I work in the DLD team and the mainstream complex needs team. In this short video, I will explain what vocabulary means, how a child may have difficulties with vocabulary, and things that you can do to support a child to expand their vocabulary and learn new words. The term vocabulary refers to the words we understand and use. Expressive vocabulary are the words that we are able to use to convey ideas, thoughts, and feelings to other people. And receptive vocabulary refers to the words that we are able to understand when other people say them to us. It is thought that we store words in a number of ways. The more places that the words are stored and the more links to that word, the better the chance of finding them quickly. We organise our words accordingly to semantic information, such as the meaning, the category, or the function. For example, if we're talking about a chair, the label is chair, but the category is that it's a kind of furniture, like a table. We also might talk about the function, that it's for sitting on, and we also might think about the location or the material. So you find it in the house or in a classroom, and it might be made out of wood or plastic. A child with vocabulary difficulties may find it difficult storing and organising their words. If you imagine that words are like books stored in a library, books are organised according to their type and category and in alphabetical order so that they're easier to find. A child with vocabulary difficulties may have difficulties retrieving words that they have learned but stored incorrectly, and they also might find it difficult learning new words as they might be unsure where or how to store these words. Now for some advice on how you can support a child to learn new words and expand their vocabulary. First of all, follow your child's lead. This means emphasising words that come up during everyday conversations and interactions with a child. If you talk about what interests your child, it's more likely that they'll pay attention and learn a new word. If the child is interested in playing with cars, for example, you can model words like push, beep beep, or fast with a younger child, or more complicated words like mechanic, speed, or traffic with an older child. A parent can provide explanations for younger children like, he needs to get a new tyre because his tyre is flat, and then talk about events in the past such as, remember when we had to take our car to be repaired? Or events that will happen in the future such as, our car is dirty, maybe we should go to the car wash. Consider the cognitive age of the child and their level of ability, and reduce the complexity of the words that you're using accordingly. Also help your child to understand the meaning of a word by giving the definition. For example, if you're playing with cars and introduce the word passenger, you might say, a passenger is someone who rides in a car or a bus or a train. A passenger goes for a ride but doesn't drive the car or the bus. Relating new words to the child's personal experiences can also help them to connect with new words. For example, if you're talking about the word nervous, you might say something like, remember when you started nursery? You felt nervous, but eventually, when you were more comfortable, you didn't feel nervous anymore. Remember that a child needs to hear a word many times before they will start to use it. This means that you might use a word with a child lots and lots of times before they actually start to say it. Children's understanding of words comes before their use of the word, so they will understand far more words than they can actually say. If you repeat words for the child on different occasions and in different situations, it will give them more opportunities to hear the word and learn it before they can use it. Remember not to bombard your child with lots of words. Just because quantity is important at some stages of development, this doesn't mean that the child should receive constant talk from adults. You should aim for a balanced conversation between you and the child in which you take turns, you say something, and you allow time for the child to process before they respond. Also remember that actions can speak louder than words. If you accompany your words with actions, gestures, or facial expressions, it can help reinforce the meaning of the word. For example, when modelling the word weary, you might do a sleeping action with your hands under your head, or you might mime a yawn at the same time. Your voice can also add meaning to the word. For example, if you say the word frightened or terrified, You might use a shaky voice and you might kind of tense your shoulders to show the body language of being frightened. So, frightened. Now we'll explain some of the strategies that you can use to support a child to learn new vocabulary. Students who find it difficult to learn or remember new words can benefit from strengthening their knowledge about the word. This includes the meaning of the word, but also the structure of the word and how it can be used in sentences. We can think about encouraging children to use their word detective skills. You want to encourage them to say it out loud. You would be surprised how many children can read a word on a page but won't give a go at saying it out loud. Second, put the word in a sentence. This allows the child to hear the word with a little bit more context. Break the word up into its smaller parts. Think about what part of speech the word is. Is it a doing word, like a verb, or is it an object, such as a noun? If it is within a larger piece of text, read the whole paragraph and look for other language cues within the text. If completely unsure, make a guess, ask an adult for support. Use a dictionary. Here we have an example of a word map. This is separated by colour to support children to look for different information regarding the meaning of the word and the structure of the word. Everything to do with the meaning of the word is highlighted in green, such as what do we do with it? This is a good opportunity to talk about actions relating to objects and labelling those as verbs. You can also think about where to find it, what is the meaning of the word, and are there any other links within the category? So if we go back to our example of a chair, thinking about the fact that a chair is furniture, see if the child can name 2 or 3 other items of furniture to strengthen that link. Highlighted in red is information regarding the structure of the word. So we might think about the sound at the start or the end of the word. We might think about how many beats are in the word, and we call these syllables. And we also might think about whether it is a short, medium, or long word. If a child has word finding difficulties, you may be able to give them the first sound in the word to cue them in. This is why it's important that we always think about the first and last sound in a word. And highlighted in blue are some extension tasks to provide more context for the child. Can you do an action or give them a facial expression? And can you put the word in a sentence to give them a little bit more information? Here is an example of a completed word map for the word describe. So for the meaning of the word, we're thinking about what kind of word it is. It's a verb. And we can also think about the definition of the word. So when we ask someone to describe, we're asking them to say what they have seen. We've also included information about the structure of the word, such as the first sound, the number of syllables, whether it rhymes, so we've used the word bribe here, and also breaking the word down into smaller pieces. So using the word description or describing. If you are confident a child knows the word describe and they look like they have it on the tip of their tongue, you can give them the first sound of the word, d. You might even give them the first couple of sounds, di or dis. This might cue them in to remember the word. This helps you to understand whether they actually know the word or whether they're just having a word finding difficulty. We want to encourage children to be active word detectives and use the skills that we have taught them when they come across a word that they don't understand. This can include creating vocabulary files. They can be subject specific, so you could put a whole file together for English, for example, or they can be person specific. So a child who has language difficulties and vocabulary difficulties might have their own personal vocabulary file. These can include a glossary of words from a particular subject. Another strategy for supporting children to learn new words and expand their vocabulary is to create vocabulary files. We want to encourage children to be independent and use their word detective skills when they come across a word that they do not understand or maybe haven't heard before. This is one of the resources that we can use in a vocabulary file. This includes the written word, a picture, and the definition. For younger children, you can include symbols or more simple pictures. and you might also want to use a shorter and more simple definition. You should use word questionnaires to measure vocabulary before and after subjects so that you can measure the impact. And also think about developing mind mapping skills. When starting a new subject, such as parts of the body in biology, you might think about labelling all the parts of the body, providing a picture for each one, and then giving a definition. You might also want to think about multiple meaning trees. For example, the word here has two meanings. You could be talking about an instruction, such as come here, but you also might be talking about listening using your ears. You can have the word written in both forms to show that it is spelled differently and include the definition below. You might want to include a glossary at the end of a vocabulary file so that it's easy for a child to look back at words that they have learned recently. Vocabulary files can be subject specific, so you might have a whole file for biology, specifically for parts of the body, or they can be person specific. So a child in your class or family who may have vocabulary difficulties will have their own vocabulary file that they should look to add new files to.